Woo! Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of to normal. Thanks so much for joining me. We've got so much to get to. I want to get to this mileage program. Illinois drivers could be taxed by the mile. There could be a fee applied according to your mileage under a pilot program being considered at the statehouse. Okay, so I don't foresee this. It's possible. It's possible, and it's called the Road Usage Charge Act. It creates this pilot program, so it's just a pilot program right now to test this like mileage-based fee, and they want to do this rather than fuel taxes. Okay. It's going to be more expensive. It's going to disproportionately affect, obviously, rural drivers, commuters. There's opponents to this bill. It's Senate Bill 1938. That's the Illinois Trucking Association. So we're going to get to that story here in just a second. I do want to talk also about the University of Illinois, Chicago, executive director of United We Dream. So I guess this is she might be employed by the university. Her bio is on the university's website. So this is interesting. University of Illinois Chicago's Greisa Martinez Rojas. So she is an illegal alien, and she televised that fact on in front of a crowd. So it was a televised crowd that she admitted this to. She said she was queer, and then she also said that she was an illegal immigrant. I don't know why you tout these things. These are things that one, you just blatantly ignored the federal immigration laws, so that's why you're an illegal immigrant. That you didn't do anything special other than break the law. Number two, you're touting that you're queer. You're just simply breathing, right? And you want to be recognized or acknowledged or applauded. And I don't know. I just think this is interesting that she brags about those two things. It just goes to show you that she hasn't really done much with her life. For simply breathing and breaking federal immigration laws, she expects applause. So we're going to get to that story. Plus, police, they catch this liberal woman vandalizing a Tesla. And this police chief says that she's the real victim here. I just couldn't believe this. The police, she was caught vandalizing this Tesla. Most of the Teslas, they have cameras in the back and the front. They're very modern vehicles, okay? And this woman was caught, and she was vandalizing this Tesla, and the police took her side rather than the victim of the victim of this vandal. So we're going to get to all of it here on Conservative Cat. Now, remember, folks, Charlie Kirk today at noon. I'm going to be around with a backpack. I'm going to do some man on the street interviews. And I'm going to be handing out free, yes, turn up the radio, free Cities merchandise. Charlie Kirk, you guys know he's featured here on Cities 92.9 starting at 11 o'clock tonight. Don't miss your chance. You could meet Charlie Kirk, have a discussion, sign up for the discussion, be a part of the conversation, love him or hate him. This is at Milner Plaza. I don't know, like, the pinpoint exactly where it's going to be. There's like rain concerns, so they had moved it from the quad to this area. So 12 to 2 p.m. Milner Plaza. Look out for me. I'm going to have a backpack and free Cities merchandise for you, so you guys are going to want to pick up your t-shirt. I'm very excited. I love Charlie Kirk. I've met him a couple times. He's a great guy. He's an Illinois native, so definitely somebody you want to have a conversation with. And I'm so excited about the Generation Z. Okay, Gen Z. There is a conservative movement, and it is bubbling with inside the Generation Z, Gen Z. And I'm Gen Z, so I'm 25, and I am seeing that all of my friends, they are turning from the dark side, and they're seeing the light, really, and it's exciting. It's really exciting. So Charlie Kirk today at noon at the Milner Plaza. So I'll see you there. Let's get to this. Illinois drivers taxed by the mile. And I was talking with my brother. It's so funny. He's a blue collar guy, and I was telling him a little bit about this bill. And he goes, do they just sit around a table and think about everything they haven't taxed yet? Okay, so they tax you on your registration. Okay, you got to pay a registration fee to register your vehicle. You got to pay taxes on the gas. Okay, and we know that they're not going to suspend the gas tax. We know, like, the bill says so, but then they won't. Okay, so they're going to charge you probably on top of the gas tax eventually, because that's how that works. They're going to probably reinstitute the gas tax along with the mileage based fee. So you're going to have both, likely. I would say this is just a pattern in Illinois. But they're wanting to introduce this program instead of, as of right now, this bill says the motor fuel taxes for funding highways, roads, bridges, things like that. Now, in order to understand this, you kind of got to understand the background. In 2019, they passed a capital bill, and what this was the gas tax. Okay, and this is what a lot of Republicans even voted on for. I think it was 19 Republicans. I don't know. There was a ton of Republicans who voted for this increase in gas taxes. Okay, so opponents of this bill, it's called Senate Bill 1938. There's the Illinois Trucking Association. Their opponents to it, Executive Director Matt Hart, argued that the state of Illinois already has a well-functioning system in place to fund the construction of the state's roads and bridges. And this is background for you, 2019. That Capitol bill and Illinois Trucking Association actually supported it. Put us on a pathway to where we are today. The state of Illinois has nearly $6 billion in road funds, 3.5 in the road fund, and then 2.3 billion. Okay, so we've got 3.5 billion for the road fund, and then 2.3 billion for the state construction account. Okay, this is what Hart told the Center Square. Clearly, the actions we took in 2019 are providing us with ample revenues for our state. So why fix what ain't broke, really, is what we're talking about here, okay? If it's fully funded, the roads and bridges, why are we changing it? The state's motor fuel tax rate was doubled in 2019, and Republicans, I won't name who, but Republicans voted to double this 2019 gas tax along with a bunch of Democrats, and they voted to increase it every single year just for inflation. So your gas taxes just keep going up and up and up in Illinois, and it was doubled in 2019. So Matt Hart of the Illinois Trucking Association said, Illinois sees a high volume of out-of-state vehicles. Duh, we're in the Midwest. Okay, and we're Illinois, and they're passing through. This is the Midwest. Okay, so we are, the heart of the nation, really. I really do believe that. And you've got a lot of out-of-state vehicles passing through, making it nearly impossible to accurately tax mileage. And creating a very complex and costly administrative challenges. Okay, so one thing Hart noticed or said was that, hey, we have tollways, and just look at the tollways if you want to see how costly this could get and how you could face some administrative challenges. So anytime you have a system like tollways or vehicle mileage tax, you need to administer bookkeeping, and you're going to have to ask people to submit their mileage, and it costs money to run this. Okay, so are you going to install like a device in people's cars in order to track their mileage? How are you going to track their mileage? This is all like questions that result in money. Okay, it's going to cost a ton of money to administer this. Look at the Illinois tollway. They spend 20 to 25% on every revenue on their revenue just on administrative costs, okay, on administration and actually implementing the tollways. The motor fuel tax system that we have is much more efficient. You definitely can say that. You just pump your gas and it's like a sales tax, right? And you get taxed on your gas. It's very easy kind of to administer. I think it's like 1% or something like that of the revenue generated goes towards administration. In March, Hart testified against Senate Bill 1938's counterpart in the House. So this is interesting, what Illinois does, and just for, civics and government, just a quick little lesson. House bills and Senate bills, usually there's a counterpart, and it's kind of a tricky, I think it's nefarious. I really do think that the lawmakers do this in a nefarious way. It's kind of tricky. So if you find one bill, so for example, the homeschooling bill, everybody's been opponents of this, like 47,000 plus people have been opponents of this or filed witness slips in opposition of this bill. I wouldn't be shocked to find if there's a Senate bill counterpart. So we all know the bill number for the homeschool bill is House Bill 2827. And you filed an opposition slip for that bill, but there could be a counterpart in the Senate. And they do this on purpose so that way you get confused because there's two bills and it's the same and they try to ram them through both the House and the Senate. This is a political tactic. It's what your politicians do to be sleazy. So House Bill 2963, it was its counterpart, and Hart testified against that in late March. Now that has been reassigned back to Rules Committee, which means that likely that bill isn't going to go forward. But Senate Bill 1938, it could advance. There's also something sneaky that legislators do, lawmakers do, and that is put like one provision within a much bigger bill. Okay, so the public transit system in Chicago is a complete mess. Okay, crime, they're broke. Okay, so it's a complete mess. And what they did, they put this motor fuel tax in with a public transit bill for Chicago, and that's just not appropriate. So here's what Hart says. He says, quote, "We don't feel that this is an appropriate venue to discuss something as large and as complicated as the vehicle mileage tax, or what they're calling it, a road usage charge. There is a reason why vehicle mileage taxes haven't been used in America, because geographically, right? And that's why public transit systems and things like that, they don't really work that well in America. I'm going to be honest with you. Any city that I've ever been in and lived in, I lived in Bloomington Normal. I'm going to be honest with you. Public transit is not really utilized. And that's not the fault of, Connect Transit or anything really like that. It's just that America is not built that way. I've told you several times, studies have told us that we don't really like our downtown areas that much. We don't visit that often. It's because we commute to work. We live in the burbs. Okay. It's a suburban type culture that we've built in America. The white fence and the two kids and the house, and then you drive 20 minutes to work. That's what we've built here in America. So public transit really doesn't work in that way. It just doesn't, because public transit, it's like you're all on top of each other and it's a city line. It just doesn't work. And unless you're in a huge city like Chicago, people are using the public transit system there. Obviously, they're beating each other up on the public transit system in Chicago and in New York, and then the subway. Just look at some of the stories that have come out of New York. It's still like just turns my stomach thinking about that woman who was lit on fire just earlier, I think in December of 2024. She was lit on fire in a New York subway. Absolutely insane. But if you look at public transit systems, a lot of them are empty. I'm just going to be honest with you. Okay. There's not a ton of people using it. It's because Americans like their cars. I mean, that's just the way it goes here in America sometimes. Okay. We like our trucks. We do trucking. I mean, this is the way the reality is. Okay. So I think that there's only so much you can do to correct the problems with the public transit system, specifically in Chicago. So right now, the current language, it doesn't specify who the vehicle mileage tax would apply to. It's a pilot program. It doesn't talk about the amount or anything, but at the end of the day, this is what Matt Ard said with the Illinois Trucking Association. He said 99 cents of every dollar collected in the motor fuel tax and goes to our roads and bridges because the administrative cost for that fuel tax is 1%. So like, I can't imagine the administrative cost of this, they're going to set up some sort of commission to oversee this mileage tax. And they're going to be trying to understand how to track people's mileage and how to tax that and how to apply the fee. And it's just going to be tough. And it's not going to be sufficient. It's not going to be efficient. So this is what Hart says. Our preference is that if we're going to build roads and bridges, we got to do it in the smartest way possible and the most efficient way possible. And the vehicle mileage tax is an extremely inefficient way to fund this infrastructure. So, no state has successfully implemented this on a large scale. We see that New York City has something like this. They actually just recently did it, but like I said, it's not a state, it's city, right? So it's not done on a large scale. Oregon had attempted this. It was a pilot program, but there was no viable long-term solution to carry this out. So Illinois residents, we frequently travel to Missouri, Indiana, Iowa, Wisconsin, Michigan. Why? Because the states are better. No, I'm just kidding, but kind of, not really. Which in Michigan, and it would be incredibly difficult to enforce a state-based mileage tax system. And I don't think I need to tell you this bill has been sponsored by a Democrat based out of Chicago. Okay, so there's that. Who can tax the sunrise? Who can tax the trees? It's the government. The government can literally tax anything they want. And I think that they sit around in a circle and they dream about the things that they haven't taxed you on already. And then they try to implement those taxes. You pay a registration fee for your vehicle. You're paying gas taxes. Some states, they pay emission, or some cities, municipalities, they have emissions test. You have to pay an emissions test and pay a fee there if you regularly take your vehicle in for an emissions test. I mean, they dream about ways to take and steal your money. I'll be right back. You're listening to Conservative Cat. Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington. Illinois pays quadruple what Missouri pays, and for registration renewal, wow, Missouri pays $58 every 2 years. Wow, that's insane. I think my registration, it was expensive. I think it's like 150 every year or something like that. It bounces around there, somewhere around there. It's so expensive to live in the state of Illinois. No wonder everybody goes to, I mean, people are visiting Indiana, Missouri when they're vacationing. If they want to take a vacation, they'd rather not like travel the state. And that's not because we don't have beautiful geographical locations. What is it? Shawnee National Forest. There's Starved Rock. There's multiple places. Chicago. There's places to see. It's just that people don't go and they don't go vacation here. Like Illinois residents don't, travel the state and see the state. They'd rather just go over to Missouri. Why? Because it's cheaper. Especially probably in McLean County, right? You're going to feel the effects of a sales tax, higher property taxes than the statewide averages. Now, this is what is interesting about McLean County, and I want to talk about the tariffs a quick second. Donald Trump, and as I said, this is a tactic, okay? He's also trying to get back to the revenue source, right? Prior to 1913, if you look at the makeup of the United States revenue, it was mainly, or it was 80-20, maybe like 70-30 before 1930. Or 13. So 70-30. So 30% came from tariffs, 70% came from the US taxpayers. Okay, so we need to get back to that, to where we can have some relief, right? I know you want relief when it comes to the taxation. It's insane how much you're taxed. Your income taxes, and that's when income taxes weren't a thing, by the way. And that's why Donald Trump has talked about removing income taxes, keeping the income in your pocket, so that way you have money to go on vacations and to live a life, right? So he's talked about taking away income taxes and getting back to this system where 30% of the revenue comes from tariffs, 20% of the revenue comes from tariffs, and then 70 or 80% comes from the U.S. taxpayer. Right now, it's more like 99.1%. Okay, and not to mention, it's just going to be fair because they tariff us, the United States. The United States is tariffed when we export goods into these different various countries. And we don't tariff them when they export their goods or import their goods into the United States. Okay. So, one, it's just fair, it's equitable. To use the left's term. And this is just a better way of going about things, but it's also a tactic, okay? So it inspires people to build manufacturing plants here rather than, we've talked about Stellantis, how they wanted to build out in Brazil. There's John Deere, they wanted to build out in Mexico. Even the threat of a tariff, prior to Donald Trump even becoming president, he had threatened tariffs in 2024, 2023, something like that, while he was on the campaign trail. And John Deere was like, we don't want to deal with that. We're going to stop all operation in Mexico. After a couple of days, spending days, the Stellantis CEO with Donald Trump, he decided to build out the Belvedere plant. And I don't know if they've halted their investments in the Brazil plant, but I'd imagine that they're probably not going to expand. They had millions of dollars planned for expansion in their Brazil plant. Belvedere, Illinois, opened up their Stellantis plant. Jobs for people, 2,000 plus jobs. And we are going to make America great again, a manufacturing country, okay, where these are blue collar jobs. And the thing about manufacturing is you feel good in them, okay? When you talk to men who are in manufacturing or in these blue collar type jobs, they can see the work that is being done. At the end of the day, they feel accomplished. It's like mowing your grass, right? You mow your grass and it feels good. To see it done. And we're going to bring those jobs back. And none of this, like, I look back on some of my college or some of my peers from Illinois State University, and I'm like wondering what they're doing today. One of my peers, she went to this like PR type firm, and there's like 70 directors with her same title, and everybody's their own boss, and it's just wild to me. And it's just like, I don't even know exactly what they make or do. I think it's like a marketing firm, maybe a public relations firm, I don't know. And I can't even really pinpoint the services they offer. And this is what has happened in America. We have these really not real jobs. They're fake jobs, I would say. And people are in these jobs and nothing is actually getting produced, made. These manufacturing jobs, they do really great things for small communities. I have a manufacturing plant in my community, Lincoln, Eaton. It supplies like 600 plus people jobs. And these are good paying jobs that are fulfilling at the end of the day. Okay. And we're just going to get back to an American culture of making things right here in America. So one thing about McLean County that I wanted to kind of note was that McLean County was the only county in Illinois that saw a population increase, by the way. So we talk about, Missouri and these out of state, our neighbors. They are so much cheaper, but actually McLean County, and the reason why is because of the manufacturing jobs. Don't you forget that. Ferrero, Rivian, there's a ton of manufacturing jobs in McLean County, and that is why we didn't see population loss. These are really, really good for communities, and yeah. Woohoo! Find me on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Rumble. I so do appreciate you tuning in each and every single morning. Yeah, on the stream, we were kind of talking about this, and I want to address Trump's tariffs really quick. They're a great thing for this country. Okay, we want to get back to 70-30 or 80-20, at least 80-20. I'd love to see 70-30, but we're talking about revenue here. So the revenue coming in, it's via taxpayer and via tariffs. Right now, it's at about 99.1%. Okay, I'm exaggerating. It's probably more like 90-10, maybe. Not really exaggerating. I think it's probably more like 95-5. Anyway, so the tariffs, we should get back to a 30% of our revenue is coming from tariffs. And prior to 1913, we didn't even have income taxes. Okay, no income taxes. And I want to get back to that. And 70% was coming from the U.S. taxpayer. Right now, the burden on the taxpayer is like 90%. Number one, we need to get back to a revenue source where, it's not all the U.S. taxpayer, and the taxpayer can have some sort of relief. We were talking about, fuel mileage tax or motor fuel tax. We're talking about income taxes. We're talking about mileage taxes. We're talking about registration fees. We've got to provide some relief when it comes to the revenue to the U.S. taxpayer, and a way to do that would be through the tariffs. But also the tariffs are a negotiating tactic to try to get U.S. businesses specifically U.S. manufacturing to stay here in the United States. Belvidere, Illinois. Okay, this is a perfect example. Stellantis CEO was hanging out with Donald Trump for a few days, and he got him to open up the Belvidere. I'd imagine he got him to open up the Belvidere plant. Was closed for a few years, I think, since Joe Biden really came in. The Belvidere plant closed. Because Joe Biden, Democrats, they're doing the unfair thing, and they're not doing any kind of tariffs at all. So we're paying tariffs to countries when we export goods into those countries. But those same countries, when they export goods into our country, and we don't tariff them on it. We don't charge them anything to do that. And that's not fair that we're paying money when we export goods out of the country into all these other countries. That's just not fair. It's not equitable, to use the left's terms. It's just not fair. So we've got to have a fair system as well. But Joe Biden and the Democrats, these companies, they leave the United States because there's no incentive to really stay. They won't be tariffed if they operate, for example, Stellantis in the Belvidere plant, if they operate in Brazil. They were planning an expansion in Brazil. I think they've suspended their expansion. I'd have to look into that. But they did open the Belvidere plant after the Stellantis CEO was hanging out with Donald Trump for a couple of days. Probably because Donald Trump, I'd imagine the conversation kind of went like this. We're going to tariff the hell out of you if you decide to go to the Brazil plant and you don't open the Belvidere plant. Donald Trump wants these manufacturing jobs. I live in a community where there's manufacturing. Eaton provides like 600 jobs. There's a ton of people in this community who are employed by that manufacturing plant. And these are good jobs because at the end of the day, it's like mowing your grass. You get to see the work that you did. Okay, now, and not to disparage anybody that works at State Farm. Maybe you do love your job at State Farm. But I remember, all my peers that I graduated with from Illinois State University, they all went on to like these marketing firms, PR firms, and I call them pencil pushing paper. Or they're just shuffling papers around. And at the end of the day, you really don't feel like you made anything or did anything. These manufacturing jobs are going to change the culture in America, and we're going to start making things again, which is so exciting. And I want to point this out specifically for McLean County. We saw population increase. So we were actually talking on the stream about Illinois paying quadruple what Missouri pays for registration renewal. I think I pay like $150 or something every year. Missouri pays $58 every 2 years, by the way. So you're getting charged like crazy to live here in the state of Illinois, not to mention McLean County. If you live in McLean County, your property taxes are higher than the statewide averages. You're going to have this new sales tax. It's going to be crazy to live in McLean County. It's going to be very expensive. But there's a reason why McLean County saw population increase despite the outrageous taxation that you face in McLean County. There's a reason why you saw a population increase. It's not because the taxation. People don't move there because the taxes are higher than everywhere else, in the surrounding counties. Okay, people moved there because of the manufacturing jobs. Okay, you've got Ferrero, Rivian, these manufacturing plants provide good paying jobs, and these are fulfilling jobs. At the end of the day, you can look at your work and say, I made that, I contributed to the American economy, and you can go home and you cannot think about it. Also, there's a lot of stress in these pencil pushing type jobs and paper shuffling type jobs, and you don't even really know what you're doing. And at the end of the day, you can just go home and be with your family and not have to worry about it if you're assembling, a product or making a product. Ferrero making chocolate, right? You can kind of go home and you know what you did. And these are really great jobs. And there's a reason why McLean County saw a population increase in comparison to all the other counties in the state of Illinois, because we're seeing statewide a mass exodus. And then McLean County saw an increase. Why? It's because of the new manufacturing jobs that came here, Rivian and Ferrero. So I don't know why all of these people are screaming at the sky saying Donald Trump is taking the economy on purpose. Number one, it doesn't even make sense because they're the ones who say that he's an egotistical maniac or whatever, and somebody with an ego isn't going to purposely tank the economy under his presidency. Why? Because he wants his legacy to be preserved. So I know Eureka Firestone. You had Eureka, Firestone, and a few more. Yeah, there's also Bridge. I think it's Bridgestone. I don't know. There's a lot of manufacturing in McLean County, a lot. And there's a reason why population drove in. Sorry, I'm reading some comments as you guys type them out on the stream. You can also text me 309-451-9299. There's a reason why McLean County saw a population increase. Now, the county government exploiting the fact that McLean County has saw a population increase and people have jobs and people are making money and taxing you into oblivion, that's unfair and that's wrong. And a reason why I don't live in McLean County anymore, right? No, one of the reasons why I don't. I'm happy to have moved from McLean County because the taxation is absolutely wild and the cost of living is insane, but people have jobs. And that's why people flooded. Whereas every other county, I think, almost every other county in the state saw population exodus. So we're going to see our communities come back. You know this better than anybody else in Illinois, because we're in the Rust Belt here. When the manufacturing left Ohio, they deal with this same thing. We were a manufacturing state. When the manufacturing comes back, your communities are going to come back and the population will come back. Now, the government exploiting that and taxing you into oblivion and taking all of your money, that's not too fair. So we've got to make sure our local government is good and they aren't wanting to steal your money so that way they can do nothing. Okay, they're not in these manufacturing jobs. They're working for the government. McLean County, 2 people. I think they're the environmental health supervisor. They're both working with the same exact job title, environmental health supervisor. Like, what do you do? Watch grass dry in the morning? I don't know. But they're both getting paid $100,000 or so, or close to $100,000. And we got 2 of them with the same title, So we need to make sure that our local government is accountable and they don't tax you into oblivion because other than the taxes, Bloomington Normal should thrive. McLean County should be thriving. But the taxation, the Bloomington Normal Airport Authority, where they expanded the tax base and they're taxing everybody else in McLean County for the BN airport. Okay, that's not fair. And they did that without going to referendum. District 87 and the whole, we're gonna use this building. I think it's on Oakland Avenue. It's the old State Farm building. We're going to take this building and we're going to include it in our district now. And we're not going to go to referendum, even though it's going to cost you more because we're taking that out of the property taxes. But we're also going to have to pay for the maintenance and things like that with the District 87 building. So, and they didn't go to referendum for that. There's so many different things in McLean County where they're taking advantage of the fact that there's jobs there and people are working these hard-paying jobs or these hard jobs, but they're great paying jobs and they're taking advantage of you. The local government there, and it's not a sustainable model. All right, I got to take a quick break. I want to come back and we are going to be talking a little bit about this illegal immigrant activist. She announced her immigration status to a crowd on TV. So I'd imagine she's going to be deported pretty quickly back to her native country. I bring her up today because I guess she might be employed one of these jobs where they don't really do anything. They pencil push and they do shuffle papers around. Okay, so she's the executive director of United We Dream, and this is according to the University of Illinois Chicago website. So I don't know if she's like necessarily paid by the university, but obviously the university has some sort of partnership with United We Dream, which is just a bogus nonprofit organization, probably getting taxpayer dollars to the tune of millions. I'll be back. Firestone in Eureka. I think there's Bridgestone Tire in Bloomington as well. Yeah, Bridgestone tires. I didn't know there was a Firestone in Eureka. I'm gonna kind of look that up actually. Yeah, I guess they do have a Firestone. Firestone? I don't know. I'll have to look that. I'll look at it. I'll look into it. But that's awesome. I mean, anytime you have manufacturing jobs, it's going to be good for the community. Now you're going to have communities, and specifically government employees and government actors, who steal your money and they take advantage of the fact that this is a manufacturing town. So. I am going to be at Charlie Kirk. I'm going to give a big hug for you. Illinois. I like that spelling. The new name for Illinois is Illinois. Um, Kentucky has a property tax on vehicles. That's interesting. I didn't know that. I'd have to look into that. But the state of Illinois, they at this point, I wouldn't be surprised to read something where they're taxing the sunrise. If you go out and enjoy the sunrise every morning, you're going to have to pay a fee. Who can tax the sunrise? Who can tax the trees? The government. The government can. So we're gonna get to this woman. She's with the University of Illinois Chicago, I think. She, or at least her bio is on there, and she's listed as this executive director for this for this nonprofit, United We Dream. I'll be right back. 2. Don't miss it. Charlie Kirk is on Illinois State University's campus today from noon to 2. I'm going to be out there. Look for me. I've got my backpack on. I'm going to be wearing a backpack, and I'm going to be passing out free cities merchandise. So you guys are going to want to check it out. And also check out Charlie Kirk later tonight at 11 o'clock. Don't miss your chance to meet Charlie Kirk and have a discussion. Love him or hate him. Join the conversation. It's going to be right outside Milner Plaza. So I'm not exactly sure. I'm hoping that it's indoors just because it's freezing outside, but it might be outdoors. So dress appropriately, right? From what I understand, it was supposed to be on the quad. They moved it. So we'll have to see where exactly it's at. I would just go to Milner Plaza and he should be out there. But I'm going to go a little bit early and we're going to be passing out some free merchandise. So you won't want to miss it today from noon to 2. All right. I do want to get to this story. This woman, queer woman. So I don't know. Maybe I'm assuming her gender. I don't know. I don't feel too bad. But she's an illegal immigrant activist. Okay. And she admitted this in front of a televised, event. Okay. She was at a televised event and she admitted this in front of a crowd, and she she was a part of this anti-Trump hands-off weekend. Okay, so I talked about this a lot yesterday. Sharon Chung, she was out there. What do we say to our shadow president? Hands off Elon Musk. Yeah, whatever. She was doing all kinds of chants, Sharon Chung, and I just simply pointed out that Sharon Chung is probably one of the most acts the most fascist out of any politician, and I'm going to say this, I've ever seen. And I've met a lot of politicians. I've seen a lot of work and votes that politicians have done in the years. I've been doing this, 5 years now? And I would say she is probably the most fascist of them all, in that she crafted a bill to take away your elected and to forever take away your rightful elected representation in the town of Normal. Elected town clerk, supervisor, and assessor. An incorporated town are supposed to have those via state statute. She changed the law, amended the law to clarify the law, right? But really, that was taking away your elected representation. Not to mention, she also voted for to jeopardize the Muhammad Aquifer, your clean drinking water in the town of Normal. What else has she voted for? I mean, just there's so much. Sharon Chung, as a county board member, was jeopardizing the safety of correctional officers. That's not me saying that. That was the guy who was running the jail at the time, John Sandage, the sheriff, saying that she was communicating with inmates and inmates' families and causing quarrels from within inside the jail. Telling them that they had, lawsuits or could file a lawsuit against the county that she was supposed to be representing. And caused a bit of some quarrels there with a former sheriff, John Sandage. And, that's a jeopardy to your public safety. If you've got inmates who are fighting with correctional officers because they're stirred up because a county board member had told them that they might be entitled to some sort of lawsuit because of their alleged mistreatment. That's rough. She also had a campaign manager. We know this, Alex Campbell, who was a self-proclaimed comrade. Okay, so she's very radical, folks. Alex Campbell also running on the slate, the One People's candidate slate with Joel Studebaker. Joel Studebaker also saying that he was a socialist communist and proclaiming himself to be a left winger. And this is the type of legislator you've elected in the 91st district. I just want to be clear about that. Anybody who goes after your elected representation, Normal, that is fascist-like behavior. Okay, I don't like to call people fascist, right? But I gotta call the balls and strikes, right? I gotta call it the way I see it. If you're going after people's elected representation, if you're denying people ballot access, that's fascist-like behavior. So let's get to this woman. She was at one of these hands-off rallies. Like I said, Sharon Chung was at our local one. It was right outside the BCPA, and they were screaming, "Hands off, hands off." I don't know what else. do you have anything else better to do on a Saturday? You know what I mean? And of course, we know that MoveOn.org, this was an organization that was actually started by the Democrat Party when Bill Clinton was being impeached. And they were trying to stop the impeachment, and they were, rallying behind Bill Clinton, the Democrat Party. But George Soros funds that. He's been funding that since before I was born. And there's multiple other nonprofit organizations we're going to get to who funded these hands-off protests. So this wasn't a grassroots movement. Okay, people were paid to go out there and to rally. Okay, so they don't actually have messengers, and they don't have a message either. The left. I want to get to this woman. Let's take a listen to this clip. Here we go.
My name is Greisa Martinez Rosas. I am an immigrant. I am undocumented, unafraid, queer, and unashamed. My name is Greisa.
My name is Greisa, and I'm queer, and I'm unashamed. Oh boy. And she says that she's an immigrant. She's missing a rather large adjective there. It's she's a illegal immigrant. Okay. I'm going to be right back. You're listening to Conservative Cat Cities 92.9. We'll chew on this. We'll digest it next. Okay. One more time, just for giggles.
My name is Greisa Martinez Rosas. I am an immigrant. I am undocumented, unafraid, queer, and unashamed. My name is Greisa Martinez Rosas.
Boy. So, like I said, she's missing a rather large adjective there. She says, I am an immigrant. She says, I'm undocumented. That means she's an illegal immigrant, okay? And I don't understand what the goal here was. Was it because she wanted to score victim points? She got up there at the podium. She says, I'm unashamed. And she announces these things. But like, these things that she's accomplished, okay, she used these as accomplishments, but all you really had to do was breathe in order to achieve them, and then hop the border, okay? So breaking federal immigration law. So this speaks volumes about this person. She's arrogant, entitled, and delusional, as all these people are, who think that their immigration status or their sexual orientation is something to be applauded. Who gives a who gives it? Who gives a hoot? Okay, nobody cares. Okay, I'm sorry, but breathing isn't an achievement. So for the record, if you are speaking on national television, this is broadcast on national television, you probably might not want to brag about breaking federal immigration laws at a time when the federal government is actually enforcing those federal immigration laws. I'm just saying, that's a bit of advice I would offer this lady. Smash that like button, share this out with your friends, share this out. And let me know in the comment section if you're going to Charlie Kirk today at Illinois State University's campus. See me and get yourself a free t-shirt. We've even got some tumblers that I'm going to be passing out. So you're going to want to get there early to try to get the merchandise. And then I'm going to be doing some man on the street interviews. So very excited about that. We'll be right back. Subscribe to the channel today. You're listening to Conservative Cat Cities 92.9, the news and talk bluing to normal. When we come back, we'll talk about an illegal immigrant activist. She announced her immigration status to a crowd on TV. And you know what really bothers me about this? She goes, "I'm queer. I'm unashamed. I'm an undocumented immigrant. I'm unashamed." And it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Queer, illegal immigrant, like you're not really accomplishing much of anything here, okay? You hopped the border and you broke federal immigration law. And you think these things are achievements, but like you didn't do anything to achieve this. You like simply just were breathing and you're a queer person and you're illegal, well, and you hopped the border, right? But this speaks volumes as to how arrogant, entitled, and delusional these people are. You think these are accomplishments? Being queer, being an immigrant who's undocumented? Like, what? I think she got up there and she wanted victim points, and people just applauded her because she's a victim or put herself out there as a victim. And I'm going to be right back. We're going to talk about that, but we're also going to be chatting a little bit about Kamala Harris. Yes, she's back, folks. She tossed word salad about fear. FDR, I think he famously, his saying is, you have nothing to fear but fear itself. It was not that profound. She's no FDR, folks, Kamala Harris, but she gave some sort of speech about fear and she tossed word salad, and that's always fun. I'll be right back. You're listening to Conservative Cat. Good morning. Kamala Harris tossing word salad about fear. She's no FDR. Lunatics protesting, of course, in American cities. And we saw this right here in Bloomington Normal outside the BCPA. This was not a grassroots movement, okay? They were bought and paid for. This wasn't like people woke up on a Saturday and were like, yes, we just hate Donald Trump so much and we're going out to protest. Really, this is all about the dough, the cash. Okay, nonprofit organizations doled out a bunch of cash in order for these people to go out and put out this massive event. It's a Democrat apparatus, and it kind of freaks me out a little bit. Like on a Saturday, usually you're taking the kids to the park. What was I doing on a Saturday? I was going to a wedding. I mean, like Saturdays are for the family, right? And these people are weaponizing and involved in this online apparatus and nonprofit organizations, like this whole web of organizations are getting people out there to host these protests across the nation, and it's kind of creepy, to be honest with you. I want to get to this female fencer who wouldn't let herself get beat up by this trans competitor of hers, and she spoke out and she's refusing to go along with somebody's fantasy. That's what she said, and she was actually given a black card because she didn't fence this guy, okay, this man who in his head believes he's a woman and is pretending to be a woman. So we're going to get to all that. I do want to finish up the story about this woman, Garcia Martinez Rosas. She is a national immigration activist, and she has been for years, and she heads a group called United We Dream. Now, according to the University of Illinois, Chicago, she's the executive director. So I don't know the correlation or the connection with University of Chicago or University of Illinois Chicago, but I mean, she's listed on their website, so I'd imagine there's some sort of connection. We are also going to get to a police chief who says that this woman who vandalized a Tesla is actually the victim in this scenario. Yeah, the vandal is the victim. That makes sense. I'll be right back. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. Let me get to some of your comments here. As big as Chicago is, they shouldn't be broke. Yeah. Well, there has been a mass exodus, like I said, in the state of Illinois and specifically in Chicago. I actually have a friend. She was a recruiter, and her whole job was to fill jobs, okay, and to find people jobs and to find businesses, people who need jobs, okay, so sort of like an Indeed type situation. And she told me that a lot of people, they don't look for jobs in Chicago because of the crime and because nobody really wants to live there. So, they're going to struggle even more financially if people leave, right? Because there's no taxpayer to tax into oblivion for all of their, government projects and all of their government jobs that they've got there. I think Chicago, they invested millions at this point, millions and millions of dollars into homelessness. And I think it's interesting because homelessness is like so much worse than it was the previous year, the previous year, the previous year. It's at an all-time high probably in Chicago at this point. But they're throwing the most money that they have at homelessness. So really, I think it's a big old money laundering scheme, right? Where they're taking the taxpayers' dollars and paying themselves with it, and really paying themselves with the guise under the guise of, oh, this is a nonprofit organization. Actually, he's my buddy from high school, and we did like a musical number together, right? And he works for this nonprofit now, and we raise taxes for this program. It's called, I think it's End Homeless Initiative or something like that in Chicago, and they've allocated millions for this project. They're going to take that money, give it to the nonprofits to address homelessness, right? And these people who head up these nonprofits, you dig far enough, you'll realize that they're the buddies of the politicians, okay? And these are people who don't want to make anything, who don't want to work in manufacturing, who don't want to actually create a product and sell that product. They would much rather just pencil push, paper push, take taxpayer dollars, and then give it to themselves. So... except for the taxes. Yeah, I like Illinois. The taxation is absolutely wild. I'm in Florida. Give me Florida weather, and I'll be back in Illinois in a flash. Yeah, the weather here really sucks. But the taxation also really sucks, and I would love to move out of Illinois just because of the taxation. And there's just so many other better states, like with even the same climate, even better climates. Missouri, it gets a little warmer there, and as we talked about earlier in the show, Jacqueline brought up, their registration is like 4 times less than what we pay here in Illinois for our vehicles. I mean, that's insane. Welcome to the Red Kingdom. You're listening to Conservative Cat Cities, 92.9 The News and Talk Bloomington Normal. Be sure to come on out to Illinois State University today at noon. I'll be there from noon to 2, passing out free cities merchandise. You might want to get there a little early because I'm going to be passing it out, and it's while supplies last, folks. Okay, I'm going to bring as much as I can in a backpack because I got to do some man on the street interviews. So I'm going to do man on the street. I'd love to interview you as well. Why you came out to the event today, Charlie Kirk. It's his America Comeback Tour, and he's going to be there from 12 to 2, the Milner Plaza. So head to the Milner Plaza at noon today. And unlike, the hands-off protest, this is organic, okay? This is Charlie Kirk is bringing out a big crowd. The TPUSA chapter of Illinois State University probably coordinated this with Charlie Kirk coming. And this is a grassroots movement, okay? Especially amongst the Gen Z, my generation. There is just a substantial move to conservatism that we're seeing amongst Gen Z. So we're going to be out there, get your free t-shirt, get your free merchandise. I've got tumblers. So like I said, while supplies last. And I'm going to have some questions for you. And if you can answer the questions correctly, then you get the free merchandise. I mean, essentially it's free. But I want to make sure that you're listening to Cities 92.9. So study our show lineup. Okay, our show lineup. Who do we air at 11 o'clock? Who do we air at 5 o'clock? And I'll tell you the answers to those two. 11 o'clock, it's Charlie Kirk. 11 p.m., Charlie Kirk. And then at 5 o'clock, Mark Levin. Okay, so I'm going to be testing you on our show lineup out there. And it's just going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Wear your head on a swivel. Okay, that's the best advice I've got for you. One of my friends, she said that she's taking her 2 teens daughters, and she goes, I've got to admit, I'm a little nervous because of how rabid the left has been lately. The vandalism, we're going to get to this vandal who's being called a victim by the police. Yeah, the vandal is the victim here. Not to mention, yesterday I brought you that story about the pro-life journalist and how she got clocked in the face, just like sucker punched in the face. She had to have a couple of stitches above her eyebrow there, and it was just so scary to watch. And it's just been it's kind of scary. The rabid left, especially in McLean County. I'll tell you a quick story and then I'll move on. I want to get to this woman, this immigrant activist. I want to wrap up that story and then I want to get to the Tesla vandal. But quick story. I went to the public library, okay, because it's actually, you can look it up on our cities99.com website. I did a story a couple of years ago, about the Bloomington Public Library and the pornography that they had on the shelves right in the children's section. I mean, it was like 5 feet away from the children's section. It was at eye level for a toddler. I saw children when I went there to take pictures of all of the pornography to prove to you that there was pornography in your public library, and it was made accessible to children, actually promoted. I would go as far as to say it was promoted to children because it was in like this case, and it was like a promotional case, and it said, read a graphic novel. You open up these graphic novels, there is some very disgusting material in there. And I did a story, it's called Beyond the Cover. You can type it in your search bar, cities929.com. And then, of course, there was a backlash to that article, and people started to realize, wow, our children are being exposed to this at a library that we pay for. Actually, we pay quite a lot of money for. Recently, the $25 million project to expand the Bloomington Public Library, right? We pay a lot of money for this. We shouldn't have our kids exposed to pornographic material. So a lot of people showed up to this meeting after that article that I had posted with the pictures and the proof that this was being marketed to children, the pornography. And I went to go cover this event, or this meeting. It was a library meeting, right? And you would think totally uneventful. I went in thinking it was going to be uneventful. There was a megaphone shoved into my face and somebody called me KKK cat. And that's kind of where that all started, because I wrote an article from the perspective of parents, the people, the vulnerable people, not the government establishment, who take the taxpayer dollars to market the pornography to the children. I wrote an article from the parents' point of view. Hey, this is what parents are seeing when they walk into their taxpayer-funded Bloomington Public Library. Did you see this? And that's what my article essentially said. And I got a megaphone shoved in my face and called a KKK member because they stuck up for children. Okay, wow. So yeah, that's a story. So the point of the story, wear your head on a swivel. If you're going today to the Charlie Kirk event, do not engage with these people. They will hit you, okay, because they are violent, rabid people who are mentally ill at this point, and they have Trump derangement syndrome, and they're unmedicated for the Trump derangement syndrome. Okay, so wear your head on a swivel. I want to get to this woman. She says that she is immigrant, she's queer, and she's unashamed of it. Let me play the clip one more time, and then I'll move on to the Tesla vandal as well. So take a listen to this. Here we go.
My name is Greisa Martinez Rosas. I am an immigrant. I am undocumented, unafraid, queer, and unashamed. My name is Greisa Martinez Rosas. Okay, a little bit about Greisa. She is a national immigration activist, and she has been for years. She heads this pro-immigration group. It's called United We Dream. I wonder how many taxpayer dollars are going to that. She proclaimed her status at a rally in Washington, D.C. This rally targeted President Donald Trump's policies, including mass deportation, widespread tariffs, and spending cuts carried out by Elon Musk's Doge, his Department of Government Efficiency. Rosas, she is from Mexico, and she came to the United States as a child. She grew up in Dallas, according to her bio on University of Illinois Chicago's website.
She's the executive director of United We Dream. This is a youth immigrant network made up of 400,000 members. Okay. Are all 400,000 members getting paid with taxpayer dollars? Maybe. um, so that's how this works. You know, these people don't want to work. They come to this country. They break federal immigration laws. They don't want to get into these manufacturing jobs, which is why they're against the tariffs, because Donald Trump wants people to actually go to work and wants manufacturing to come to the United States. Most Americans want that, want jobs. That's why McLean County, like I said, saw a population increase, because we are kind of oddballs in this area, central Illinois area, when it comes to manufacturing. Ferrero, Rivian, Bridgestone Tire. We've got a ton of manufacturing going on in Bloomington Normal. That's probably why we saw a flood of people coming into the county, whereas the rest of the state, you see a mass exodus. Like Illinois lost a ton of population, but McLean County actually gained population, which was interesting. It's because the manufacturing job, stupid. So Donald Trump wants more of that for our counties. You're probably struggling in McLean County, and that's not because of the manufacturing jobs. The jobs are there, the money's there, but the politicians, the local politicians, know the money's there, and they're stealing your money from you, and they're exploiting the fact that we have these good paying jobs in McLean County anyway. So Rosas, she used the word immigrant here, and I think that's hilarious, because they like to interchange these words, illegal immigrant and immigrant, and they're completely two different things. So she missed that crucial adjective there, illegal. And, you know, this is just ridiculous. She spoke at this hands-off rally, and this just goes to show you where their priorities are at. She is proud of the fact that she's queer. She's proud of the fact that she's an illegal immigrant. And these are things that are not accomplishments. Okay, you didn't do anything really to achieve those things other than break federal immigration law. And, you know, I think it's kind of interesting that she says that she's an illegal immigrant on television, especially considering we have a federal government who's enforcing federal immigration laws. So yeah, the hands-off approach that Joe Biden had is no longer here in the United States. Like I said, I don't think that hands-off when it comes to our border. We had an open border. They prefer the hands-off approach under the Biden administration, where they don't have any hands in enforcing immigration. They don't care what kind of harm is done to this country or its citizens. The end goal here is making sure no human is illegal. However, it's unfortunately for this undocumented individual who also happens to be queer, the government is all hands in. Okay, the federal government is all hands in when it comes to the border and enforcing federal immigration laws. And the sooner she realized that, the better off she's going to be. Can't believe she said this out loud with her mouth. So we're going to get to this Tesla vandal. I want to shift gears a little bit. This woman was accused, separate woman, not this woman. Okay, this woman was at a hands-off rally. And she was screaming about mass deportation policies. I want to talk about this woman who vandalized a Tesla, according to a police chief, Booker Hodges. Okay, he says that the suspect in this case may have been the victim. Well, how does that work? She's the vandal. She destroyed somebody's property, but somehow, some way, she's the victim in terms of the rhetoric that's being spewed out there by some of those in leadership. That's what he says. So we're going to play this clip here of the police chief, Booker Hodges, who says that, oh, actually, this vandal is the victim. Let's take a listen. Here we go.
Suspect in this case may have been a victim. And I mean victim in terms of the rhetoric that is being spewed out here by some of those in leadership. We need our leaders to start leading and stop feeding this rhetoric. People should be able to drive whatever car they want without fear of going into a store and someone scratching their car, or people yelling at them because of the car that they choose to drive. It's time for all of us, you know, just to start getting along and knock this stuff off, man. People should be able to be left alone. But rest assured, if you damage these cars or target people, we are going to arrest you. We are going to prosecute you to the fullest extent that we're able to. But in this case, I'm going to go back to, based on the totality of everything with it, and our core value of being compassionate, and ultimately what the victim in this case wanted, because the victim in this case is the most important. This is the best outcome. The victim has already been made whole in terms of being paid, and the suspect in this case, we're going to hold those charges over their head just to ensure that they don't do anything similar to this in the near future. So with that, Bloomington, we will see you back here later on this week.
Okay, so this police chief, Booker Hodges, he's talked about this woman. She, vandalized this Tesla, and he says that she is also a victim of the rhetoric. Now, after listening to that a second time, and I didn't plan for this, I listened to this a second time. Now I'm thinking that maybe he's talking about the rhetoric of the left and how brainwashed people can get by this rhetoric when people are talking about how Elon Musk is Hitler and Donald Trump is Hitler. Like, what do you expect is going to happen? People are going to go out there and vandalize and do everything they can to take down Elon Musk because they believe truly in their hearts that he is Hitler. And that is the fault of the media. Now, I don't know. I mean, like, I'm not a victim of TDS. I don't know how much we want to blame the left and the media for their rhetoric. At the end of the day, these people have, autonomy over themselves. And she chose, because President Donald Trump hurt her feelings, or the media told her that President Donald Trump was Hitler and Elon Musk were Hitler. She chose to go out and vandalize a Tesla. So I don't really know what the point of the statement was from the police chief. I really don't know what the point is with the whole rhetoric thing. At the end of the day, you're a person, and maybe turn off CNN. Okay, I did. I turned off CNN. I woke up because it's a cult. You got to wake up and you got to leave your cult, right? So to essentially cast blame on the federal government, and I don't know if he was talking about Trump's rhetoric and because Trump hurt her feelings or something. I don't know if he was talking about the left's rhetoric, but at the end of the day, this person should be held accountable for her crime. It sounds like she is going to be. But, don't blame Donald Trump and the federal government. Let's blame the people who are actually committing the crime. Calling this woman a victim is just way too far. She might be brainwashed by the media, but that doesn't mean she's a victim. Right? She's got her own life. Nobody held a gun to her head and said, "Hey, go vandalize this Tesla." Last month, a 27-year-old woman decided the most logical and rational thing to do was when she saw a Tesla parked, she keyed it, and she caused almost $3,000 in damages. Okay, so she damaged somebody's property, and it does not appear she knew the owner, or why she believed this was somehow that this would somehow get back to Elon Musk, and that this would send him a message to Elon Musk, and this would hurt Elon Musk. I have no idea why she believed that. If you key a Tesla, Elon Musk is not going to know about it. Okay, but she's got no one to blame but herself, to be honest with you. Okay, yes, you can try to blame the leftist media, brainwashing her and convincing her that Elon is Hitler. And we shouldn't be shocked when people go out and vandalize Teslas when we tell them that Elon Musk is Hitler. But at the end of the day, she's only got herself to blame. Fortunately, the actual victim, as he said, has been made whole in terms of the debt they owe, so the $3,000. Nonetheless, the victim, the fact that the chief thought it would be best to play both sides here and get along is deeply pathetic and foolish. If he meant the left's rhetoric is contributing to this violence, he needs to come out and say that. Okay, this whole playing the both sides, it's pathetic, it's dumb. Just come out and say what you mean. Say, hey, AOC, stop calling Elon Musk a fascist Nazi. Okay, that's contributing to these violent crimes committed by these individuals who are not victims, but they are criminals. Okay, so this whole like wishy-washy statement of his, I just disagree with, and I think it's pathetic. There's only one side vandalizing Teslas, and despite that, it actually affecting both sides, actually. So people on the left own Teslas, probably more so than the people on the right owning Teslas. So there's only one side that are vandalizing. It's affecting both sides, left and right. It's not clear if this owner voted for Trump, the one who had the $3,000 worth of damages. Many Kamala Harris supporters obviously voted or obviously own Teslas because before, Elon Musk was Hitler, he was, praised by progressives. These sorts of cars were never seen as political until the left decided Elon Musk was Hitler because Elon Musk helped Donald Trump on the campaign trail and voted for Donald Trump. Okay, so this is the sort of rhetoric, coming that we should be concerned of and the police should condemn. Okay, so he shouldn't be, vague and say, oh, there's rhetoric. We just all have to get along. No, the left needs to stop calling Elon a Nazi, number one. Number two, people who commit this crime of vandalism, they need to be held accountable, and they are not victims of any kind. All right, I got to take a quick break. You're listening to Conservative Cat Cities 92.9. What's new, Kat? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Good morning. I so do appreciate you being here this morning. Later today at noon on Illinois State University's campus, I'm going to be there right outside Milner Plaza giving you free Cities merchandise. Charlie Kirk, you can listen to him later tonight on Cities 92.9 at 11 o'clock. Coming up in just a little bit, we are going to be talking about Kamala Harris. She tossed word salad. She is no FDR. I'm telling you right now. She tossed a word salad about fear. She gave a speech on fear. FDR, you of course said we have nothing to fear but fear itself. She did not say anything even remotely that profound. Okay, so she tossed some word salad, and I love listening to Kamala Harris toss word salad. I think it's hilarious. We're gonna get to the lunatics who protested in American cities against Donald Trump and Elon Musk over the weekend, and we're gonna get to who exactly funded them. Yesterday, I told you about MoveOn.org. This is a Move On organization. It's supported by George Soros, has been since I've been alive. The Move On organization was started by the Democrat Party when Bill Clinton was being impeached. So these are left-wing organizations. This is a Democrat apparatus. I don't understand, like, why are you doing this on a Saturday? Like, don't you have a life? Of course they don't. They rely on the government. So their head pops off the pillow in the morning and they're thinking politics, politics, politics because they rely on the government that much. So on a Saturday, this is not a grassroots movement. They're all getting paid by nonprofit organizations to go out and do this kind of stuff. So we're going to talk about the lunatics who protested in American cities across the nation and who funded them. We're also going to talk about a female fencer who wouldn't let herself get beat up by a trans competitor. Okay. And she's speaking out. She went on Fox News. She talks about how she's refusing to go along with somebody's fantasy and she's not going to get beat up or she's not going to go into this fencing competition with a trans competitor. So we're going to get to all of that here soon on Cities 92.9. It's Tax Tip Tuesday with Rick Johnson from Tax and Accounting Plus. Happens around 7:30 every Tuesday for a few more Tuesdays. Right, Rick?
Yeah, today's the second to last one. The next Tuesday's the 15th, and then it's over.
Say it isn't so. I love Tax Tip Tuesday, Rick Johnson. We've got so much to cover. So number one, before we cover today's tips, the April 15th deadline. Talk about that. Who falls into that April deadline?
Yeah, April 15th is on Tuesday this year, so there's no extensions of a day or two because of a holiday and such. And you need to do what you're going to do by the 15th unless you file an extension. All right. Now, you can file an extension with a Form 4868. You can electronic file it. You can mail it in. But keep in mind that the extension is not an extension of time to pay. All right. It's an extension of time to file. So if you think that you're going to owe some money, then send that amount in when you file your extension with your extension to avoid the penalties and any extra interest that you might have to pay.
Well, Rick Johnson, today we're talking about tax scams. Oh boy, tax scams. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I wanted to talk to you about that because actually just a couple of days ago, I heard some information that the IRS is somewhat expecting that with these scammers and the fraud that is going on this year, especially that there may be 10% of the returns coming in will have some sort of fraud attached to it in some way or another. It's just kind of gone rampant this year. Okay. And you got these scammers out there and they have warning signs because the scammers are going to do things, to pressure you more than what the IRS is going to do for sure. And they will pressure you for your personal, financial, and employment information or your money, okay? And what you can do to kind of watch out for yourself and make sure that things are going the way they should be with the IRS and such and not through these scammers is one thing. The IRS, they don't ever promise you a big payday, but these scammers will. They say that and if it's too good to be true, it probably is. Okay. They will give you bad tax advice, even on social media, and they'll convince you to lie on your tax forms and mislead you about credits that you can claim. Okay. Also, the impersonators, these scammers, they will give you demands and threats. To them, they can't get, they don't want to give you time to think about it or talk to someone or whatever. It's a now or else type situation. So they may threaten you with arrest or deportation, and they don't let you question or appeal the amount you owe at all. Like I said, now it's now or else. All right. And also notice too, if it's through an email or something, the email website link may have a little misspelling in it or something a little off. And that's what that's there for, is to redirect you to a site that is not the IRS, but will look a lot like the IRS. With AI now, they can make these emails and these websites look very, very accurate and very misleading. So be prepared of that. So that's the main thing, is just be careful, be diligent, and if it doesn't seem right or you got any question, then just hang up. Don't talk to them. Research it, call, report it, but don't give in to them. Don't give in to them.
Mm-hmm. Now we're going to be talking about filing an extension. You kind of already hit on this a little bit, but this is the Form 4868.
Yes.
Now that sounds confusing. Break it down for us, Rick Johnson.
All right. Yeah, it's kind of confusing a little bit why the IRS, excuse me, why the IRS even bothers to have you file this form. And it's an extension, and to do this, or when you file this form, you get an automatic 6 months. So if your return was due on April 15th, then you get till October 15th to file. Okay. And again, remember, it's an extension of time to file, not an extension of time to pay.
Okay.
All right. Also, if you file that extension, it doesn't mean you have to take the full 6 months. You know, if you file extension, like in our office, you know, I'll be honest and straight up with you, we will be filing for some extensions. People just have come in late or, you know, a little behind or whatever. And we don't want them to have additional penalties and interest tacked on for filing late. So we file an extension form. And when we file extension, we have no intention of waiting 6 months to file your return. If we file extension, we're going to get it out within the next few days after April 15th or within a week or so. That's our process.
Okay. And then our last point today is charitable giving. Now, you actually get some money back, right? From what I understand, if you give, right?
Yes, you can. If charitable giving, I really enjoy and like charitable giving, and I like to see when we're preparing returns, people giving back to some of those less fortunate stuff. All right, but just keep in mind that when you're, again, the charitable giving, if you're intending on taking a deduction for it and helping you get a bigger refund, then you must follow some of the rules that have been set up by the IRS. One, you need a receipt, okay, from the charity, and a canceled check or credit card statement to prove the deduction. Okay, you need to make sure too that the charity you're giving to is a qualified charity. All right, the IRS has a list of those on their website, and the qualified charity will then make you qualified to give a charitable deduction and take a tax deduction for it. Okay, a lot of people, you'll see what do they call that on social media? Something happens and they'll do a fund. You know what I'm talking about? And they'll put something up for a fund.
Yeah. Or
yeah,
give
there you go. Thank you.
Yep.
Exactly. That's it. But those are not qualified charities. And I'm not saying don't give to them and help them out, because usually something's really bad's happened to them, whatever. And that's, you know, personally on you, what you want to do. But just know that you won't be able to get a tax deduction for that. Okay. It has to be a qualified charity, like a 501(c) or something of that nature, a church, etc. And to be able to take that deduction. Also, keep in mind that you can give non-cash donations to like Goodwill and you know, Habitat for Humanity, things of that nature. The non-cash donations, you know, will consist mainly of like clothing and household items. So what we suggest that you do is, when you're taking the stuff out of your closet and figuring out what you're going to send or give away, set that out on your bed or whatever, and make an itemized inventory of what you have. It will help you when you get ready to assign a value to each piece, if you have a record of what each piece you gave. Plus, it gives you great substantiation for the IRS if you have that list. And at the end, when you got it all out, spread out all over your bed or whatever, then you can take actually a picture or two, and that will help collaborate what you gave and what you didn't give. And then most of all, when you go and give these things to a nonprofit organization, make sure that they give you a receipt back and saying what date you gave it and kind of what was on it, and it's signed, because you will need that to help prove that you actually gave it to that organization.
Yeah, yep. And that's one thing. Cover your butt, right? Cover your butt when it comes to tax season. Make sure you cover your butt if you're trying to get some deductions, because that's a deduction, right, on your taxes.
Yes.
See, I'm learning, Rick Johnson. I'm learning. These tax tips are helping.
I'm getting so impressed.
Anything else, Rick Johnson? Tell us about Tax and Accounting Plus. Tell us about the services you offer. Tax season is obviously coming to a close. You guys got to file that extension, but like Rick said, hey, you still have to pay the IRS. It's just an extension to file. Doesn't mean that you don't have to pay the IRS now. But tell us a little bit about your services outside of the tax world.
Well, I consider our office pretty much a full service, one-stop shop, so to speak. We have a full bookkeeping service, payroll service. We do all tax returns, all states. We do estates, trusts, corporations, LLCs. Just pretty much the only thing we don't do is foreign tax returns. Not much use for that in the middle of the cornfields in central Illinois. All right. We also are very good about helping people and answering their questions. We're one of the places that are not afraid for that phone to ring and for us to help you out, even if you're not a customer. So, but we are located at 501 North Clinton in Bloomington here, and we have a website called taxaccountingplus.com, and our phone number is 309-827-4010. And then I'm going to have to come up with something really good, because this is the last Tuesday next week. It's the final day, April 15th. It's going to be crazy. So we'll see if we can't come up with a kind of a cute tax tip for that one.
Yes. And I'm bringing cookies. I'm bringing cookies for our Tax and Accounting Plus Tax Tip Tuesday. We'll eat them on the stream. You guys can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Rumble. And you can also find Tax and Accounting Plus on Facebook as well. Give them a like, give them a follow. They post tax tips all the time. So if you don't have Tax Tip Tuesday anymore on the radio, you can find tax tips on their social media site. So Rick, you have a blessed rest of your day. Thanks so much for joining me on the show today.
Thank you, Kat.
All right, folks, we're going to be right back talking about Kamala Harris tossing word salad. She gave a speech about fear. Yes, she was not as good as FDR. Definitely did not say very profound things. She tossed word salad. I'll be right back. You're listening to Conservative Cat. Woo! Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the News and Talk Bloomington Normal. Kamala Harris. Okay, look, the reason voters are unsurprised with Trump's second term is because he promised to do all of this. The tariffs, having no men and women's sports, all of it. He promised to do all of it, and that's why polling shows Americans believe Trump is doing exactly what he said he was going to do. Okay, so it's comical that Kamala Harris thinks that she's the only one who knew that he was going to do what he promised he was going to do. Take a listen to this. Here we go.
And these are the things that we are witnessing each day in these last few months in our country. And it understandably creates a great sense of fear. Because, you know, there were many things that we knew would happen. Many things. I'm not here, so I told you so.
Okay, so I told you, Donald Trump said he was going to do all of these things. That's why people voted for him, and that's why a majority of Americans believe that Donald Trump is doing exactly what he said he was going to do. According to BET, this news outlet is absolutely just garbage. They said this, quote, former Vice President Kamala Harris delivered a stirring and deeply personal speech at the Leading Women Defined Summit on April 3rd in California. And this speech underscored the power of sisterhood, the urgency of political engagement, and the importance of collective courage in the face of fear. Oh man, this outlet, is quite literally just PR for Kamala Harris. This reads as if it's a press release from the Harris campaign. Harris didn't shy away from addressing the country's political reality with policies she championed being rolled back and progress being under attack. She warned of a culture of fear taking hold in America. Quote, we are seeing people stay quiet. We're seeing organizations stay quiet. We are seeing the oppression and unconstitutional threats. That's what Kamala Harris said. So we're going to get to the rest of her speech, and I'm going to break it down because I don't know what policies were that great under the Kamala Harris-Joe Biden administration. The inflation crisis, the open border crisis, one of the worst open border crisis in American history, the worst inflation. What policies are that amazing? You know, they're being rolled back and progress is under attack. And now there's fear in America. This is what this outlet says. It's like, give me a break. I'll be right back. You're listening to Conservative Cat. So I don't know what policies this outlet is at BET. This outlet is talking about that were rolled back. The policies of inflation, the open border policies. Excuse me. How about the way she championed destroying women's sports by allowing men to be in women's sports? Okay, those policies, are those the policies she believes that are under attack by so-called unconstitutional threats? Are those the policies she's talking about? She says she offered hope. This is what the outlet says. Yet even in this moment of reckoning, Kamala Harris offered hope. Fear is contagious, but courage is contagious too. I really hope stupidity isn't contagious, because after listening to her, I feel like my IQ decreased by a few points. So the outlet goes on, they say, to a standing ovation, she reminded attendees that bravery isn't the absence of fear, it's pushing forward anyway, despite the fear. Okay, that's what she says. The courage to say what's happening is wrong, the courage to say there's a path forward, the courage to hold the democracy. I'm exhausted from listening to this. The courage to hold onto democracy we still have. Like, this is what lost her the election. Remember when she kept saying that Donald Trump was a threat to democracy, threat to democracy, threat to democracy, and we all know he wasn't a threat to democracy, right? This is why she lost. The truth is that the only fear people should be have right now is that we were this close to having Kamala Harris become president, and that is a very, very scary thought. So we're going to come back. We're going to come back for our radio friends. I'm going to break this down a little bit. Kamala Harris's speech. So smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. Again, if you're going to see ya, I'll see you later, Tim. Thanks for joining. If you aren't going to Charlie Kirk today, let me know. Or if you are going to see Charlie Kirk today, let me know. And if you want me to secure a t-shirt for you or Tumblr, throw it in the comment section. Surprise. Surprise no one has made a Kamala Harris bobblehead doll. Gosh, listening to her exhausts me, and I feel like my IQ has been jeopardized after listening to this woman, and it's a scary thought. Donald Trump being the president is not scary. The policies he's been implementing, the policies he's rolled back, none of that's scary to me. What's scary to me is that she almost became president. So we're getting close to the end here of this show, but be sure to share this out with your friends, smash that like button. Does the right support people being fired? The fake cause to deny people unemployment claims. I don't even know. Tesla. So I'm not sure where you're coming from, Dan. I'd imagine that you're trying to say that people were fired from Tesla, or fired from Twitter, maybe, and denied unemployment claims. I don't know. Would that make you? No, nothing would ever make me want to commit a crime. Vandalism. I'm going to be honest with you. I've never felt the need to go and vandalize somebody else's property, and I don't think I ever will, despite being denied unemployment claims or whatever you're talking about. I'd imagine fired from the government. Oh my God. Okay, and denied unemployment. Yeah, well, this is what happens when you get into the government public sector, okay? Now, to a degree, right, you are a public servant. So if you are entering the government workforce, you have to understand that you are providing a public service, okay? And that this is not a world that exists really, okay? You don't make anything or create anything in the government, in the public sector, okay? You don't make a product that people actually want, okay? There's government services, but those people pay, or their money is taken away from them for those services. So they don't actively give you money. So in this world, unemployment shouldn't exist because the money is taken from people by not their free choice, and by not their own fruition. So yes, if you're fired from the government and denied unemployment, it's because you're in the public sector, and the public sector doesn't work like the private sector. Okay, you are a public servant. My money is taken away, so that way you can provide me the services that I pay for with the money that's taken from me. Duh. Good morning. Hey, you're listening to Conservative Cat Cities 92.9. I wanted to play this one more time. This is Kamala Harris. Here we go.
And these are the things that we are witnessing each day in these last few months in our country. And it understandably creates a great sense of fear. Because, you know, there were many things that we knew would happen. Many things. I'm not here, so I told you so.
I told you so. Yeah, we all knew these things were going to happen because Donald Trump said they were going to happen, and a majority of Americans believe Donald Trump is doing exactly what he said he was going to do, and that's why people voted for him. But anyway, she goes on and she talks about, the policies they're taken away unconstitutionally. What policies are you actually talking about here? Are you talking about the inflation crisis? Are you talking about the worst border crisis in American history, those policies. How about the one that stripped women of rights and you destroyed women's sports by allowing men into women's sports? Those policies, because those policies, yes, they are being attacked, not unconstitutionally, okay, but they're being attacked because the American voted for Donald Trump to remove those policies and roll back those policies. And she said that they're under attack with unconstitutional threats. Like, come on, give me a break. And then she says, she goes on, here's this outlet, BET, they say this: yet even in this moment of reckoning, Harris offered hope. Fear is contagious, but courage is contagious too. So she gave a little speech about fear, and she said, fear is contagious, but courage is contagious too. You know, I really hope stupidity isn't contagious, because I feel like I lost a few IQ points listening to Kamala Harris's cackle again. Courage is contagious. Give me a break. She to a standing ovation. You know, this is the media outlet BET. She reminded attendees that bravery is not about the absence of fear. It's about pushing forward anyway. The courage to say what's happening is wrong, and the courage to say there's a path forward, and the courage to hold on to democracy. Oh boy, this is why she lost. This whole fake threat to democracy thing is why she lost. There was no threat to democracy, okay? She was the threat to democracy. She didn't win in a primary, okay? She got no votes and managed to secure the Democratic nomination, okay? So the truth is, really, all that people have to fear now is that this woman got that close to becoming president. That's a very scary thought, and that's all I've got to say. All right, you guys have a blessed day. I'll see you at the Charlie Kirk event at noon today on ISU's campus, Milner Plaza, noon to 2. I'll be handing out free Cities merchandise. Bye-bye. Love you so much. That's BS. Dan, what are you talking about, man? Okay? Like, do you not know how the public sector works? Like, we don't give the money of our free will. Okay? It's taken out in the form of taxes. Okay? So we have to buy goods that we want, actually, from Walmart, from the gas station, right? And then everything that we buy is taxed, or there's a fee that is placed on that, and that is not something that we want to give willingly, okay? This is something that is taken from us, our income taxes. We have to file taxes every year. Do you not live in the same planet that I do? I don't understand, Dan. That money is taken away from us for government services. The government employees are to provide those services and are paid a reasonable salary for providing those services. And these are services that we need as a country, or as a municipality, as a community, or as a state. At a state level, they take taxes at a state level. Services like or like basic infrastructure, okay, your water, your fire, public safety, your fire, things like that. They should be taking that and providing those services, okay? That money. And those people are paid with government dollars to provide services, and in a way, they are public servants. Okay, so public servants should not be paid or should not receive unemployment, because that is not how it works. Okay, because the money is taken from us; it's not freely given. So yeah, the public sector and the private sector, you can't expect them to operate in the same way, because in the private sector, there's an exchanging of goods going on, and people are giving their money of their own fruition, of their own free will. Okay, if you want a product, you buy it, right, with your own money, with your income that you worked for. Okay, there's a buying and exchanging of goods. And the government being denied unemployment, who really gives a damn? Because to be honest with you, like, the money this is all like really fake money, because they aren't making it. The government doesn't make money by providing services. They take money and then provide services nobody really asked for. You know what I mean? So claimed people were fired due to poor performance, which isn't true. Okay, I don't know about you, but 100% government having poor performance is probably most likely true. Have you ever encountered a for example, going to the DMV, a headache, right? Mailing something, a headache. It usually never gets there on time. The United States Postal Service is a government service. anytime you use the government, it's usually not all that great. Call times, look at the Chicago, the call times for police officers, it's like 30 minutes until the police get there. Like, give me a break. The government, of course, always has poor performance. A lot of, look, I can argue with you all day, but I'm telling you right now, the private sector operates in the real world where people actually give their money because they want a product, and the product is good or the service is good. And then there's this world where your money is taken from you, and then they provide services that nobody really asked for or wanted. So that is the crux between the public sector and the private sector. And because these public sector, and like really, the public sector employees wanting unemployment is bizarre to me, because you should enter into the public sector with this understanding that it operates very differently than the private sector. You're taking money rather than getting money. Okay, you're taking money from the taxpayer that they're not really asking for you to take, and then you're providing services. Okay, so you're held to a much higher standard of accountability. Okay, because you are a government employee, and really you shouldn't want anything. You're in a way a public servant, and you shouldn't expect unemployment or these exorbitant salaries. Why? Because you're entering into the public sector with the understanding that the money is taken, not given. All right, I gotta go, but you guys, I'll see you at noon. Charlie Kirk on ISU's campus, Milner Plaza. I'll see you there. Bye-bye. I love you.